So yeah, if I like the game and I want to go out of my way to grind and get some levels, I'll do it. But the game has to earn that, you know? The game has to earn that for me. The game has to be like pretty good. I have to be invested in the game, and this game isn't. I'm close to saying it's bad. I'm actually gonna say it's mediocre because of some of the choices. It was fine up until all this, though. The main thing is, I'm like disappointed because they had a really neat idea, but then just didn't execute it well. This could have been a really cool thing to be like, oh, hey, more floors, more bosses. But they blew it. They really blew it. And I'm disappointed. Like, this game was fine when I started it. But now it's pretty close to mediocre. And the story, like, the story just got, like, it's not even interesting. It seems like it's just like a, so far, really just seems like a Grandia 1 knockoff, while being a little bit Grandia 2 sprinkled in. The story just got to the point because it's like, obviously, Northern Army's bad, turning on us, etc. And none of the characters grip me yet. Which, I'm not blaming that on the game, because games normally take a while to have characters that grip you. So, I mean, I'm giving the characters a chance. But if the gameplay is this insufferable and the characters don't grip me by this time, it's gonna be like, why am I playing this, you know? There's just nothing that I'm like... There's nothing that's keeping me interested in the game if it's gonna be this annoying to play, you know? I prefer turn-based, quick and painless. You just like turn-based games more, Raptor. You don't really like action games, so... Oh yeah, there is a direct tomorrow. I hope they give us some good stuff. Here's hoping. I don't really have any specific, like, oh, this has to be announced, but I'm hopeful of some good stuff. Oh, 1500 in the combo. Let's go. So this Mimic was in the Ocean Cave, I think. Burn Strike. Don't hit me. I'm alright, good. We're gonna see how the boss of this story, like how this rest of the main game goes. We're gonna see how the rest of the main game goes. If the main game's balanced around having to do those boost things. That's gonna be kind of my make or break moment with this gameplay. He destroyed. Oak, get him. Oak, no! Please! Why do you do this? Die. Kill this Mimic. Oh, I got canceled. You got to hit me first. That's interesting. Die. How'd you like that? I'm like not even level 18. Those things were 7 levels higher than me. Oh, I couldn't say anything because of the stupid camera. Oh, this game is so annoying. I said the combat was fun. But I'm gonna be honest with you, with how infuriating this whole dungeon stuff is, it's like, why, like, it's like, what's the point? Like, the combat might be fun, but you get ambushed by enemies and you can't even see them because of the camera. There's just way too many stuff being like, yeah, the combat's fun, but there's so much barrier of entry to get there, you know? I prefer action games, so I don't get screwed the RNG and get strategized to beat bosses. I don't have a preference on turn-based or action. honestly. People ask me, do you prefer action or turn-based? I don't. My favorite games are a mix of turn-based and action. Grandia, turn-based game. Tales of Graces, action. FF7R, action. Tales of Berseria, action. Final Fantasy X and X-2, both turn-based. My top 10s are a mix of action and turn-based. They have their pros and cons. Turn-based mostly being with RNG nonsense. But you know, that more depends on the game than the genre. And action games are so vague, so depending on what kind of action the game is, that can also be like, not a flaw, but like a drawback. Not every action game is as fun as the other. Tales of it always fun, but like, not every action game is as well made and well balanced. Trying to save my MP because, you know. Actually, no, what am I worried about? Starry Corridor lets you go back. Starry Corridor is actually well designed. It lets you go back to Loka and back to the corridor. I was able to go straight back to level 5, which is nice. Oh, used a bomb. New FB, anything Zelda related, anything to do with Yokai Watch, Gate for Advanced Wars, Bayo 3 will likely get shown. Yeah, of what you just said, nothing really like, oh, I want this. Maybe new FE, but other than that.
Your bad luck began with this battle.
I'm pretty much on board with new Fire Emblem. I'm not gonna go back and play older ones, but I like Shadows of Valentia and I like Three Houses. So I'm probably just gonna like, I'll probably just stick with, if they make something new that looks interesting, I'll play it. I don't really have the time nor the desire to go backward in FE.
Blade, be silent as the wind.
Shockwave Slash is so good. Die. Characters in story are gonna have a major uplift and be really good to actually make me like consider this a good game at this point. By the way, because like again they were fine before, but the gameplay wasn't this insufferable. So, and by gameplay I don't mean combat. The combat's fun. The gameplay as a whole, like just the choices they make with geogates and such and going through dungeons, very questionable to mediocre. But the characters in story would have to have a sudden, like, oh, a sudden boost to make me invested. Even if they're like okay, that's not enough to save this game. They have to be like really good at this point. And I don't think they're gonna be that good based on what I heard. Will they get better? Maybe, but I don't think they're going to be great. Definitely not going to hold a candle to the first two games. Like, you can't really mess with perfection, which is Grandia 1 and 2. But I did go into this game with an open mind. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as the first two, and now I'm definitely not going to. I never expected to like it as much as those two, so that's at least something. General consensus is next FE will be a new game or a remake of FE 6 or 7. I'm down with anything. Just give me more Fire Emblem. New Fire Emblem. Hopefully more akin to SOV and Three Houses. Or either or. Because SOV is a remake of the second game, so I'd be down to get another remake if it's as good as SOV. Snakes! Die, you dumb snakes. I've been playing for almost 2 hours. Interesting. I feel like we made no progress. We went through like a little bit of the Starry Corridor, and then we went to the Land Ruins, but then only got reset back because again, the Geogate is dumb and the boss is dumb. Definitely going for 4 hours today. I need more videos for this game. My backlog is really low. Oh, this is the floor 8? Oh, you were just right at the door. That's interesting. Was not aware of that. Hail Shower. One game that has good gameplay is Hysteria. Characters and story are pretty bad.
It's going to get chilly.
Gameplay? Yeah, I agree. It's good. Not great. It's good enough for a tale. It's Tales of Standard. The story's nonsense and the characters are underwhelming. I like Edna. I love Edna and Zavid, but I can't believe they're stuck in such a pretty meh game. I'm more generous to Hysteria than most people are. I definitely don't think the game is good. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's meh. I think it's okay at best. I'll play it again one day, but I gotta get it on the channel. It's definitely not bad enough for me to want to play it again, because, you know, I want all the Tales games on the channel. Man, am I really gonna want to play Grandia 3 this year after playing this game? I don't think I'm gonna want to. I'm gonna need a break. I don't want to go into another bad Grandia game after this. Because I was gonna play Grandia 3 this year so I can play the Redux patch early 2023. I don't think I want to, though. Because this game is starting to get a little annoying.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Spinning wheel.
It's fine, though. I have a lot of other games to play this year anyway. Die. Hey, Knuckle Glove. You know 3 is bad, and I'm not expecting to like this one by the end of it. I definitely, again, I started this game, I was like, it's neat, it's fine, it's different, I'm giving it a chance, you know? But, again, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to hate it. The combat is still fun, but like everything else in the gameplay is so terrible. Because they make some terrible decisions with Geogates, the camera is awful, the force stall system is whack, the enemies just suddenly get to you and they surprise you and everything. And the levels are jumping a little bit. I hope the bosses in the main game aren't terrible. So like, while the combat is still fun, the combat's not getting boring, but like everything else in the gameplay is just not well designed. So like, it's such a high bar to get to the fun part, which is the combat. So like, what's the point of getting to the fun combat when everything else in the game is not so good? If I was going into this game, I was like, you know what? Grandia 1 and 2, in my top 10 games of all time. They are so, so good. I know they're not to everyone's liking. Like, I'm not saying everyone should like Grandia 1 and 2. I adore them, though. They are amazing games. And if someone told me they don't like retro games, I wouldn't recommend Grandia 1 because it is still a game made in 1997. But if you do like games that are older and don't mind them, then Grandia 1's like, oh, it's like one of the best games ever made. So, like, I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, Grandia 1's great. If you tell me, like, hey, I don't like retro games, I wouldn't recommend Grandia 1 first just because, you know, it's still a retro game at the end of the day. But I like retro games and I enjoy it. So I love Grandia 1. And Grandia 2 is also a good follow-up. Even though I know a lot of people don't really like Grandia 2 as much as 1, and I still like Grandia 2. So I was like, you know what? This game, it's different. I'll give it a chance. Like, it's not going to be as good as the first two. It already wasn't going to be. It has a lot to live up to. But I was hoping it would be at least passable. But it doesn't look like it's going to be. I was hoping it'd be fine, you know? Like a one and done game. Like, I played it, it was fine. Not the worst thing, not the best thing. It was just fine. It was just kind of there. That's what I was hoping. And I guess it can kind of turn around.
Your bad luck began with this battle.
Might be okay with the level curve. It depends what the main story bosses are. If the main story bosses, I said this already, if the main story bosses assume that you do the optional dungeons, the boost level dungeons, I'm gonna hate it. If the main story bosses, like, if it's like, hey, did you do those boost level dungeons? If you didn't, too bad, you're gonna get destroyed. If that's the main story, I'm gonna hate it. Straight up. Because the dungeons already have a big level curve. They expect me to be level 24? For those two bosses, apparently? Or close to it? I'm not even level 20 yet. So, you know. Like, what can I possibly do to grind? Just stay in one spot, grind, and wait for the slog?
I have no.
You know? Because you're probably like, oh, just do the boost level dungeons. Yeah, I would. But the boss for the boost level dungeons are 24. Do they just really expect me to grind enemies? That's just boring. I hate if that's the route they're gonna go with. I'm gonna not like it. Which, it goes back to Arctolab 1. It forces you to grind. So, we'll see how the main story bosses are, I guess. I'm just wondering if you'll finish at the completion or if the game will just throw a bunch of bullshit at you later. I'm not 100% in this game already. If the game... I would rather, like... If 100%ing means, like, doing all those boosts, I am not 100%ing this game. When I saw that nonsense, I was already like, nah, dude, I'm out. When the GeoGate nonsense happened, I was already like, I'm out. I'm just gonna play the main story and do what I want. I just want to finish it because it's a Grandia game at this point. Main story is what I meant by completion. We'll see how the game handles that with the main story bosses then. I kid you not. If the main story is manageable and you can ignore the boost dungeons, I'm gonna finish the game, yeah. I would like to finish this game. Like, I don't like quitting games. But I have sanity and I have other games to play. So if this game is annoying, I won't hesitate to stop it. It really is just gonna depend on the main story bosses at this point. Because I'm probably gonna, if I can ignore those boost level dungeons, I will.
How'd you like that?
I just want to say, hey, I played Grandia Xtreme. Not very good. One thing is, am I gonna like this game more than 3? That's interesting. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I mean, to be honest, this game barely has a story. It's very bare bones, and the characters are barely, at least so far, they're very paper thin and they're not really characters yet. They haven't really gotten much focus. Grandia 3 has Alfina, who I really don't like. And the writing in Grandia 3 is bad, and the story in Grandia 3 is bad, but the story in this game is, like, non-existent-ish. It's, like, very bare bones. So I don't know what I'm gonna prefer when it comes to this or 3. I'd probably prefer 3, because at least 3 doesn't have some annoying camera and annoying stuff with gameplay. I don't know.